Good day, beautiful people. This is Natalie Silver with Life Treasures and Golden Moments, where I share with you true stories of miracles and inspiration. Before I get started today, I'd like to send out a reminder to you all that if you have a story of a miracle that's happened to you or a story of inspiration that you'd like to share with our listeners, please contact me at angelswhisper11@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you, and I know our listeners would love to hear your stories too. So thank you so much. In our life's journey, we may or maybe we have not ever had this happen to us, but sometimes we might find ourselves in a position where we need help because of an unfortunate circumstance or a simple mistake we've made, or we've been in great danger from the forces of nature like a tornado or flooding and other things that happen in life. This story today is called Do You Want to Live by Michael P. Kelly. And the young man in the story finds himself in an unfortunate circumstance because of the choice that he's made. On a beautiful morning in September of 1988, I was at home, slouched in my favorite worker captain's chair, reading the local paper and sipping a can of beer. I picked up the paper with the thought of pursuing the Help Wanted section, but was distracted by an article on the front page about the launch of the Space Shuttle Discovery the next day. Through the haze of my unusual hangover, an idea popped into my head. I still had a little cash left from the last job I'd quit. Why not hitch down to Cape Canaveral, spend the night under the stars, and watch the shuttle launch in person? Crazy last-minute adventures were a favorite pastime of mine. After all, the way I saw it, the basic purpose of life was to have a good time. Nothing else much mattered. By noon, I was on the side of the highway with a blanket, a cooler, and a big cardboard sign that said, simply, Launch. A couple of hours later, I found myself at the Titusville Causeway exit of I-95, right next to Cape Canaveral. People from all over the state and beyond had swept up campsites, and the tailgate picnics were in full swing. I found a clear spot and spread out my bedroll. Off in the distance, the Kennedy Space Center looked like a picture in a postcard. Everything was perfect. Well, almost perfect. A six-pack or two would be nice. Maybe I could catch a quick ride to a convenience store. I didn't have a long wait. A big black pickup with 3 young men in the cab pulled over. Where are you headed? To get some beer. Hop in. I clambered onto the back and we rumbled off. Typical rednecks, I thought, as I took in the 3 grimy, tousled heads in the cabin in front of me and the big rifle rack above them. They probably just got off work and were ready to cop a buzz. I guess we had that in common. We pulled up in front of a convenience store, and I handed one of the guys a couple of bucks. The 3 of them went in, leaving me in the back of the truck. There was definitely something off about these guys, but they were getting beer, and that was all that counted. Even after they pulled back out onto the highway in the opposite direction from the launch site, I didn't really worry about it. They must know a good place to party, I figured. After a mile or so, the driver turned down a narrow dirt road that led through the dense woods. We pulled up at a small clearing overlooking a drainage canal that meandered through the trees. One of the guys tossed me a beer and I cracked it. They still didn't look any too savory with their scraggly hair and tobacco-stained teeth, but they were friendly enough. Then out of nowhere, one of them reached into the truck and grabbed a rifle off the rack. "Give me your money," he growled, poking me in the belly with a barrel. "And pull those pants down." "Hey, come on, we're just—" "Shut up and do it now, dummy, lest you want to get shot." Terror and humiliation was sobering me up fast. Hands trembling, I handed over my last 5 and lowered my pants. He kept the gun trained on me, and then he pulled the trigger. I collapsed onto the ground, doubled up in agony. Waves of pain radiated out of my groin. Whooping, the men kicked at my legs and back, edging me forward. The ground dropped away, and I splashed into the canal. When my head cleared the water, I caught a glimpse of the darkening sky directly above me. Then I saw the silhouettes of the 3 men on the bank. "This one's for the road," one of them shouted. There was a dull pop, and a sear of pain shot through my abdomen. "Make this stop," I found myself silently pleading. To whom or what, I didn't know. "Please just make it all of the stop." "Do you want to live?" The words sounded clearly in my ears, but who had spoken? Yes, I want to live." "Then you must get out of the water." The words were like a wake-up call, snapping me back into action. I paddled to the far shore and struggled up the steep, muddy bank. I reached the top only to slide back down into the water. I tried a second time, then a third. The pain in my gut was wrenching, but I knew I had to get up that bank or die trying. With everything I had, I lunged for the top one more time. I made it. "Hide," the voice was calm, clear, and firm, just as it had been before. Frantically looking round, I spotted a mass of thick underbrush. I plunged in, trying to sink down out of sight. As I did so, headlights appeared on the other side of the drainage ditch. The voice was right. They were looking for me. They must want to make sure they'd finished me off. I lay face down, absolutely motionless, listening to the men's angry shouts as they slogged back and forth along the bank with a flashlight. After a few minutes, I heard the truck engine start up again, then gradually fade into the distance. My tormentors were gone. With a heave, I flipped myself onto my back. The movement sent pain blazing through my gut. I groaned involuntarily, then lay still. Then, the less I moved, the less I hurt. I closed my eyes. When I opened them again, it was completely dark. I sensed immediately that I was not alone. Something, a presence of some kind, was there with me in the darkness. And I just knew it was that same presence that had spoken to me in the water earlier. I felt it focusing on me now, filling me up with an indescribable sense of peace and ease. Dehydrated, exhausted, bleeding from the gunshot wounds, I nonetheless began to feel shielded from my body's pain. A new presence appeared. Not a single one this time, but a group. Male and female, old and young, all dressed in different colors, like peasants from some faraway time and place. Slowly they began to reach out to me. Their faces were clear despite the darkness. Who they were or where they came from, I had no idea. But under their healing touch, the pain and the fear receded. No one spoke, yet I had a sensation of total gentleness and peace beyond anything I had ever felt or imagined. All through the night, the visitations continued. Soon even the trees and the grass around me began to carry the same glow of peace that set free from them. I could feel it washing through me, penetrating every cell in my body. Consciousness came and went like a tide. Finally, dawn arrived, and the visitation slowly faded. In the early morning silence, I could make out the sound of cars in the near distance. I crawled to a tree and pulled myself to my feet, letting go for a second to get my pants up. I immediately fell back onto the ground, pain once again racking my stomach and my groin. The voice from the previous evening returned, clear as ever. If you can't walk, crawl. Lying on my back, I wriggled and pulled until my pants were up. Every movement was agony now, inch by painful inch. I crawled toward the sound of traffic. Just as before, the voice filled me with inner determination. I'm going to make it out of here. I almost made it to the road when a man walking with his son stumbled across me. They ran for help, and in a half hour I was at a hospital. A CAT scan revealed that the second bullet had ruptured my bladder and lodged in my right hip. I don't believe it, the doctor who performed the operation told me later. A single nick to your intestine, and you would have died during the night. The first bullet ended up leaving surprisingly minimal damage as well. One of the doctors suggested that because it had been fired at such close range, it had actually cauterized the wound as it passed through my body. Lucky or not, I can't say I wasn't angry after my ordeal. Yet even though they were never brought to justice, I began to pray for the men who almost killed me. I pray that God will reach them just as He finally reached me. I've come to realize that even the most painful and ugly things that happen in life can ultimately have a positive outcome. Before my ordeal, I was basically a person adrift, someone who moved from day to day alone, ruled only by my own personal whims. Nowadays, I think about a whole lot more than where the next bit of fun is coming from. And it's definitely not in a six-pack of beer. God has given me a role to play in this world, and it's up to me to find out each and every day what I need to do to fulfill it. The voice that came to me that terrible day ended up doing more than just rescuing me from death. It rescued me from the person I had been, showing me that another, better, truer one had been inside me all along, just waiting to get out. In life, in times of need, we can find strength, guidance, and protection. And it's only a prayer away. God is present even in the most unimaginable situations. This is Natalie Silver with Life Treasures and Golden Moments. I hope you enjoyed our story today. And until next time, take care and God bless, and have a beautiful week.